But when you understand how Jesus began to revolutionize the concept of death, you find him using the word hell, which is the Greek word Gehenna. And what that was literally, and you need to understand something, listen to me. When the two thieves on the cross were taken down, the Bible doesn't say what happens to them, but history tells us. The Bible says that when they took him down, they took him to the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. And the reason that is so important, ladies and gentlemen, is because we have a historical record of what happened to the body of Jesus Christ at every moment. Because what was supposed to happen to the body of Jesus Christ, who was killed as an insurrectionist and as a revolutionary threat to Rome, his body, just like all of the other bodies that were on the crosses, were taken down to the south side of Jerusalem. And it was a place that was called a deep valley. The Jewish people and the Greeks called it Gehenna, hell. As a matter of fact, if you had a dog or a hog, if you had scraps your children refused and your animals would not eat, your stench, your garbage was taken to the south side of Jerusalem and thrown over the wall. And that is where it stayed. It was a place called Gehenna, literally, and stunk to high heaven. But what they did in Gehenna was they would take the bodies of criminals and they would throw them over to the south side of Gehenna and they would light them on fire. So 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, bodies would be burned in Gehenna who were criminals. Rather than give birth or to give a proper burial, they would throw their bodies into big fires and bodies was burning 24 hours a day. So Jesus said this place called hell is like Gehenna. So it influences the way that they saw death. Now, the Hebrews looked at it and they said death is shalom. And you have to understand something about the Jews. They argued, listen to me, they did not believe in a resurrection. It was impossible to them. To a Jew, the only resurrection was the righteous at the end of the world. And the only way you could ever experience life after death was for you to be resurrected at the end of the world. And so what happened, ladies and gentlemen, is that they started seeing this word Shiloh. It means silence. As a matter of fact, when you watch American movies and you see American horror stories, and you'll notice that they're white, that goes all the way back. It is rooted and grounded in Greek mythology and Jewish traditions, because Shiloh meant shades. As a matter of fact, it actually meant a hollowed hand or a hollowed way. And what I need for you to understand this morning is that when these people around 30 AD started shouting and saying he has risen from the dead, what that meant, because these people, the Jews and the Greeks, did not believe that there was life after death at all. As a matter of fact, when you watch the movie Gladiator, you will notice that the Greek man who dies, he goes to this place, and in this place doesn't look real in the movie. The colors are not as bright. There is contrast there. There's a hollow look. It's real, but it's not real. It kind of looks real, but then again, I know it's not real. That's what they believed about death. As a matter of fact, it wasn't until 400 years before Jesus Christ was born that Plato stood in a grove of olive trees. And in the midst of the olive trees that were known, ironically, as academia, the field of academia, he started the very first university in the olive tree grove called academia. And he began to say, what if, ladies and gentlemen, this concept of Gehenna, this concept of Hades, this concept of Sheol is missing something? What if you are really more alive when you die than when you live? What if it's possible that the soul has more power than death? Now hear me and hear me well. This was a culture that believed that there was more power in death than life, because there was no life after you died. That was it. So when they started saying that Jesus had risen from the dead, it was utter nonsense. It was the craziest thing anybody could have ever said, because the Greeks did not believe that he was alive, And that is the reason Mary looked at him and said, they stowed his body. Now listen carefully to me. Around 30 AD, these people, these followers of the way, these revolutionary radicals, took him down off of a cross and put him in a borrowed tomb of Arimathea. And they come upon him and they find out that it was empty. And do you know what they said? They said, he's alive. Now, they just didn't say he's alive, because Thomas said, I saw him with my own eyes, and I put my finger in the side of his nail-scarred hands. John and Matthew and the disciples said, not only did we see him and touch him, but he ate fish. And that is why in John chapter 20, when Jesus shows up instantly with the disciples in that upper room, and they were so afraid, Jesus said, man, what's your deal here? Why are you scared of me? And he says these words. He says, can a ghost eat fish? Bring me your fish. Thomas, put your finger right here. Oh my God. You understand with me that this culture thought death was it. There was no afterlife. Because to the Greeks, when you go with me on a study tour, or you look at a Greek tomb, there are never any references to gods on a tombstone. The tomb only represented a memorial for the living, not for the dead.